Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Lucy and Isaiah now off the new show called Off the Bounce. What's going on, Isaiah?
How's it going? First episode off the bounce.
This week, I know we had a short week because our last show got postponed to Wednesday due to some work reasons. So we have a pretty short show to talk about since there's only really one series going on and there's not much to talk about. Um, I'm pretty positive we covered up into the first half or towards the end of the first half last week. Um, so now that we can catch up and make sure we get it done, that game one for the Lakers. Um, I know like I said, we covered most of it in the first half, but to recap, the Lakers were down big early. The first half was not pretty. I'm pretty sure at the end of the first quarter, sorry. Um, let's look at it. The breakdown. Play by play. Does it? No, it doesn't tell me how the quarter ended, did it?
What game one?
No, just kidding. So at the end of the first quarter, I think it is the Heat that were down, actually. I can't read this correctly for some reason. Um, the Heat were down 28-31, maybe. Is that how I'm reading it at the end of that first quarter? Um, but then, like I said, it just kind of went really downhill. The Heat looked good, and then the Lakers went on like a 75-38 point run or something like that. Put some WD-40 on that chair, bro. You out here getting disrespected.
Sorry, I do need to put some WD-40 on this shirt. I just got it, man.
No, you're fine. Um, but yeah, so that freaking the Lakers decided to turn it up in that end of the first quarter or something because I know they were down big early. Um, yeah, they were down 23-10 at one point. It looks like.
hmm
Yeah. And then that's when the Lakers started to turn it around. They started coming back slowly but surely. End of that first quarter, they were up 31-28. Um, Going into the second quarter, they just kind of never stopped. From then on out, they just kept expanding the lead, expanding the lead, expanding the lead. And then they ended up winning 116-98. Um,
hmm
Lakers were led by good old Anthony Davis in game one. He had 34 points, 9 rebounds. Um, what was the issue in that game one, Isaiah?
I'm pretty much sure it was just like LeBron 80 took control of the game. They took control of how everything played. They took control of the offensive board. They took control of every opportunity, and that's what you really got. And that's pretty much the ground rules of how basketball is founded. If you can control the glass, you can limit people to opportunities, and limit to um, how many people are how they score and how many opportunities they get to score when they come down every possession, then you can really take and mostly control every basketball game.
Yeah. Um, JR Jr., I'm not sure. I don't want to say your name wrong. That's when KCP kept them in that game. That's true. KCP, I'm pretty sure,
hmm
did pretty well at game one.
13 points.
Oh, he shot poorly the whole game.
Shot poorly, but apparently he must.
30% from the
I'm pretty
floor,
sure he hit the shots whenever they needed him. Probably did.
33% from three. Um, he did shoot 5 for 5 from the free throw line though, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
hmm
He did also have 2 steals, a block, 2 rebounds, so that's pretty good for a shooting guard. I mean, it's not top tier numbers, but it is what it is. Um, Anthony Davis led the scoring, like I said, 34 points. Right behind him, though, was LeBron James with a 25-point double-double, triple
hmm
double. Sorry. Um, oh no, I'm right. 20 double double. He had 13 rebounds and only 9 assists. He was one
hmm
assist short of getting that triple double. And we will see that quite often where LeBron gets screwed because the rest of the team can't really shoot.
hmm
Um, no disrespect, but LeBron isn't that great of a shooter from three. Let me clarify, but neither is the rest of that team. They brought in some players, and it's just proven that they're kind of streaky. Once they lost Avery Bradley, it was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
downhill.
Kind of. He was a main shooter,
Main
or at
shooter,
least
main defender.
consistent shooter, main consistent shooter.
Yeah, agreed. Um, then moving into game two, um, this is where they lost Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo. They went out with injury in that game one. Um, Goran Dragic has a plantar tear. Um, and Bam, I want to say, is a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a shoulder injury.
I think it was a shoulder injury actually.
Oh, it says neck on
No,
ESPN.
yeah.
Upgraded to questionable, however, now, so that's more recent. But in game two, he was out. But it didn't really make too much of a difference. The Lakers ended up winning 124 to 114.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Lakers and the Heat both played much better this game. The Heat shot 50% as a team from the floor and 40% from three, which is impeccable. But the
Mm-hmm.
Lakers also shot 50% from the floor, and they only shot 34% from three. Um, they also had 20 more shots from three. So it
Mm-hmm.
goes to show that you can't really trade baskets. Um, the Lakers took 97 total shots in the game. The Heat took 71 total shots in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so really, the only thing that kept Miami close was they went to the foul line a lot. The Lakers
Mm-hmm.
only took 17 free throws compared to the Miami Heat's 34. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the major difference comes in. And what, at this point at least, what could you say that made like the Lakers take that edge in the game?
I think it's just at the end of the day, they out rebound, they score. They could take control. They usually take like I like the Lakers because that towards the end of it, whenever the one basket counts, they're able to take control because they whenever that one basket counts and Miami misses, they crash the board, they get the rebound, and then move on to the next possession. I think it'll help. What helps them get the edge is in that the last they do that last little thing you need because when it comes to most basketball situations, when it comes to crunch time to separate little leads and make them longer, you have to make mistakeless basketball, and that in order for you to score in order for that to be successful you have to be able to be smooth with how you play and everything like that.
Yeah. Let's look at the rebound totals. 44. So yeah, this game too, the Lakers ended up having 7 more rebounds in comparison. They had 3 more
Mm-hmm.
assists, which means 3 more made baskets, at least on that were assisted,
Mm-hmm.
to clarify. But the Lakers only had, both teams only had 9 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
However, it really just comes down to how many points were scored off of turnovers because that could make a
Mm-hmm.
huge difference. Um, that 10 points could be the complete difference of 9 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you score on half of them, that's the 10 points that you
Yeah,
get.
because if you get two threes, you get three threes, that's almost 10 points right there off of three of them.
And we also have to keep in mind, you, me, and the people watching, this game was played without Bam Adebayo, like I said, without
Mm-hmm.
Goran Dragic.
Yeah,
Um,
they're key factors.
yeah, it's two people that are like really crucial to the way that they play the game, how
So
they like control the pace of the game,
mhm.
um,
So you had to give
major
them.
ball handlers. Sorry,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
you had to give them credit. So because after they lost them to you, kind of like it's going to take a little bit to get used to them too. Those big significant presences both not being there. So with the flow of how the game was, how they were playing, you can see major. Of course whenever they go out, it's gonna how they play is going to be completely different because they don't have Bam getting the rebounds and then Goran's a good shooter and also playmaker at the same time.
Yeah. Then one other thing that is like commendable to the Heat. I feel like now
Hmm.
that they've been playing without Bam, it just goes to show that they have even more depth because Kelly Olynyk came off the bench in game two. He played 37 minutes, scored 24 points, had 9 rebounds. only 2 turnovers, and he shot 9 of 16 from the floor.
Mhm.
So, if anything, it just means that they have something that they can work with even more now. If he's still
Mhm.
80%, 75% health,
Mhm.
he can come in, do what he needs to do, and then he can take his time off, sit
Mhm.
on the bench, let Kelly Olynyk play.
Mhm.
Um, in that game as well, Jimmy Butler had 25 points. He led the team. Tyler Hero had 17 coming
Mhm.
as a rookie. He's now the youngest player to start in the finals, at least in
Mhm.
the NBA.
Let me
But
get
like I
started by
said,
here, but next game we'll talk about next game. Yeah.
like I said, the Lakers ended up winning by 10, and the
Mhm.
difference came in where Anthony Davis and LeBron James had probably the games of the series together.
Mhm.
Anthony Davis, wow, had 32 points, 14 assists, 14 rebounds. Jesus, I can't talk today.
Mhm.
And right behind him, I guess, I probably should say in front of him, since he led the team in scoring, was LeBron James, 33 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, one off from each stat for a triple double. Um, Now, after game two is over, you're looking at how this series looks. Anthony Davis had 34 in game one,
Mhm.
32 in game two.
Thinking it's over pretty much. Most
Yeah,
people probably thought it was over. I did.
most people are probably thinking it's over. I know I said it in our page. And to clarify, I guess, since you and I both talked about it during that game one, after game two, it's looking pretty solid that Anthony Davis is probably going to get finals MVP.
Mhm.
Although LeBron's
Unless,
got,
depending on how I can't say it now, yes, but since Miami won and it kind of stirred up the pot a little bit by
yeah,
them winning, that if they come out and possibly win the next game, that might change my opinion because if LeBron has to dig something out the grave and be like, listen, like buddy, like I'll let you take the show now, but like this is like we're not
yeah,
losing this, you know what I mean?
yeah. And granted, it is saying that he had a 34-point game and then a 32-point game with 14 rebounds. But you also got to think if Anthony Davis does get it after game two, let's say the series ends there,
Hmm.
you're taking away the credit of LeBron James having a 25-point triple double,
Hmm.
and then taking away the credit of him having 33 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, which is like unheard of in finals series. And then, yes, obviously, it comes into game three. Was last night, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was last night.
Hmm.
Um, Miami decided to have
Wake up.
everything be perfect for them, I guess, outside of like their
Hmm.
shooting percentage. Um, or no, hell, they even had perfect games there pretty much.
But
Um,
they were nice, bro.
I won't even get into the statistical category yet. I will
Hmm.
strictly just name shooting percentages. The
Hmm.
Lakers shot 43% from the floor as a team, and then 33.3% from three, which is one in every 3 shots, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, then you go down to the Heat. They shot 51.2% from the floor as a team.
Hmm.
They made 41 shots out of 80 attempts, which is like, it's just unbeatable.
That's pretty high. I was gonna say as a team percentage.
They also shot 35% from three, which even then is good as a team. Um, and then that's when you get into your statistical categories. Talk about the Miami Heat first, since they had the win and the highest scoring performance.
Hmm.
Jimmy Butler comes in and
40
he
points.
makes like history. He scores
Hmm.
40 points, and with a triple double, he's got 11 rebounds and 13 assists. He also ended up becoming the second player to ever score 40 points in a finals game without attempting a single three pointer. He joins Shaq in that. Um, and then, even further than just the 40 points that he scored,
Hmm.
he either scored or assisted on 73 points of the game, which
Hmm.
is well over half of the points scored by the
Hmm.
team. He with that, he's tied for second all time in an NBA Finals game. He's responsible for 73 points of that How many did they score? 115.
Hmm.
That is
A
insane.
lot. But
Um,
my thing I saw from Butler in game 4, I meant that like kind of like I don't know they played different. What I saw definitely was a few things. One was that they were anytime that LeBron towards some points of the game, whenever LeBron was guarding Butler, they hit LeBron with screens and got someone else on him, and he just took advantage of that. Whether it was Kuzma, whether it's Caruso, whether it was someone else, whatever it was, he was backing them down, getting to mid range, getting a shot, getting them over them, getting them hesitation. Two was Tyler Hero's hitting his shots, Tyler Hero was hitting his shots. It was just like he had people helping him, like it was Jimmy Butler doing his thing. It was Jimmy Butler doing his thing, but it also was like a lot of like his teammates hitting the shots whenever they need. Like if Jimmy Butler was in trouble and he needed to pass out to someone and they shot the ball, it went in most times. Like they were hitting their shots, like they were dominating the game. They were doing. They were on once AD got out because AD got in foul trouble and he was pretty much like he got out, but probably like the beginning of the second quarter. And once that
yeah.
happened, they just started going downhill, 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 attacking LeBron because LeBron eventually went off. They started attacking. And even with LeBron on, they still were dominating the court. And
Hmm.
then even there's some points where AD was on the court, they were still hitting shots. I think they finally maybe with him with him off the court, they just need a little bit of time. It's just to like get the ball rolling or something like that because once he got even when AD got back on the court, they were still hitting shots. So I feel like it got to a point where they figured out what they have to do to win
Yeah.
without Bam. That even when they bring him back, that it's just going to be plugging him back and adding him back to the puzzle of how to beat this Lakers team.
Yeah. Um, to further that about your whole performance was pretty much perfect. Um, they shot 91% from the free throw line. The Heat did. Um, they got that rebound differential closer. They were only out rebounded by 7. Lakers had 50. The Heat had 43. Um, but they did have more boards on the defensive end. They had
Mm-hmm.
34 defensive rebounds compared to Miami's 32. So that means that
Mm-hmm.
they were pretty much dominating on missed shots. They didn't give as many second opportunities to the Lakers as they probably have
Mm-hmm.
in other games. They had more assists in the game than the Lakers did, and they only had 13 turnovers in comparison to the Lakers' 20 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it does come down to the difference of um, points off of turnovers. Granted, the Lakers scored more points off of turnovers than the Heat did, but it was pretty much over at that point, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It just once the Heat took the lead in late in the fourth quarter,
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of a wrap.
Yep. This
Um,
is this next game will be very interesting to see what
yeah.
happens, especially if Bam plays. It will. I think it might. It's just like it stirs up the pot a little more because you might like if Bam plays and the way they played last night. If they had Bam and he just rides the wave of how they ride and doesn't impede on how they played, they
Hmm.
honestly they could win the series. And I know that's a very bold prediction for some people out there that might honestly say that. But if you really look at that, how they played, it's kind of a reasonable way to play. Attacking AD, getting him out, don't having to worry about him. When AD comes out, LeBron only can do so much, and then you're really going to have to test the skills of the people around them and have to have them step up. They're going to have to play that they're going to have to play bigger than most of their roles. And most of them can do that. Most of them can't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it might be how it is. Some of them might show us and prove us later on. But Miami has too many people who just have experience and actually can do that. That they can dominate a basketball game.
So now that you're talking about testing the supporting cast for the Lakers, I feel like it's a valid time to point out the fact that Danny Green, as a starter, finished the game with 2 points. He shot 0 of 6 from the floor, shot 0 of 4 from behind the line.
Hmm.
KCP, as a starter, finished the game with 5 points. He shot 1 of 5 from the floor, 1 of 3 from behind the line. Um, 2 points off of free throws. Danny Green's 2 points are off of free throws. J.R. Smith came in and hit one shot out of all his 3 attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Caruso was probably the third best off the bench. He is the third best off the bench. Um,
Eight
he had
points.
8 points on 1 of 4 from the floor, 1 of 3 from behind the line. Um, I will
Five.
give
Oh,
full credit to, I don't know which Morris twin this is. Let me
I
get
think
it
it's
right before.
Marquise.
It is Markeith Morris.
He
He
was
came
hitting
in the
threes.
game.
Yeah, actually, he was
Yeah,
hitting shots.
he came in the game for Anthony Davis when Anthony Davis got into foul trouble, and he went 6 of 3 from the floor, or 6 of 13 from the floor. Sorry, 5 of 11 from three, and had 19 points at the end of the game, which is a great performance coming off the bench
Mm-hmm.
in his respect.
Yeah.
Um, Kyle Kuzma also came in off of the bench, had
Mm-hmm.
19 points at the end of the game, which was shocking for me to see.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played very poorly, but apparently he played better than I thought. He as well shot 6 of 13 from the floor and 4 of 8 from behind the 3 point line. So
This is okay. You just brought up Kuzma, and I just brought up another a point I kind of wanted to make. The reason why people have high, I don't think it's like who like you said. You just like what you just said. You don't think he really played bad, but what's it called? He looked like you like apparently he didn't really play bad, but you look way worse. I feel like maybe because inside of us, when we see him on the court, since he was the only one that survived that AD trade, that we have some sort. I think every
higher
basketball
expectations.
fan inside of us has some very high expectations for him. Since out of all of them, that and they're doing fine, and you see how they're doing over Pelicans, and they're doing good for how they play, and you see him, and he was the only one left out of that trade, and you're kind of like, what are you really doing, buddy? You know what I mean? Because he's like, don't get me wrong, he's played good in some games, he's played solid in some moments, but he's not like the people that they traded in the AD trade, honestly, like he should have been one of them, in my opinion. Honestly, I feel like I would have kept one of those people back and gave him Kuzma and told him buy it.
Now that we've seen all of to where we've seen, in my opinion, I would have kept Josh Hart or Lonzo.
Thank you. They just didn't use Lonzo right,
Yeah,
honestly, and they couldn't have used because LeBron was on ball point guard until they got AD. As soon as they
yeah,
got AD, he hasn't been that he's been ball dominant, but hasn't been that LeBron ball dominant. He's like, give me that,
yeah.
you know what I mean? He's been like a lax, letting other people take control, and I feel like that would have been the perfect situation for Lonzo
Hmm.
to be in this song. Like honestly, like I think I don't know. That trade kind of irked me because seeing him stay kind of was like, why him? Out of
Yeah.
all of them you traded away, you kept him.
You
Like
trade
he's
everyone except for the guy who's going to be Anthony Davis's backup. Makes sense.
swear like he's not, bro. He's just, bro, in my opinion, I think he's a what
He
what
doesn't. He doesn't like Lonzo. He doesn't like any of the Ball brothers.
is there.
I'll let it slide.
You have to get past their ego. I know it can be very annoying. There was no way
Brandon
they
Ingram would
had
have kept.
they had to
Would
give
have been
up
a good
Ingram.
trade.
I think Ingram was one of the key deals that they like. I feel like
Yeah,
he had to be in it.
he
I,
was probably the one that had the most value in the trade to get
yes,
Anthony Davis.
honestly, I'm sorry. I liked Ingram, but I feel like he had to go.
Yeah,
He had to go because that trade they would have probably looked to trade the other way if they didn't if he wasn't off the roster.
Anthony Davis would have probably ended up somewhere else.
I know, Big Tucci, you have to get over their egos. I know their father is a very egotistical person, but you have to get over that because Lamelo's good. I don't know about the middle one. I ain't worried about him. I don't know about him, but the Lamelo's good and Lonzo's good. I like how Lonzo plays with the Pelicans, and I feel like
Hmm.
if that's what he's playing with the Pelicans, I feel like they could have had some sort of role for him, especially whenever you see Rondo bringing the ball up in the finals. Like you're telling me that could have been Lonzo Ball doing the same thing.
And then now that we've mentioned all of the supporting cast that the Lakers could have had,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the supporting cast that the Miami Heat do have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jimmy Butler, obviously, like I said, he put up his 40-point triple double with 11 rebounds and 13 assists. Um, he is the highest scorer in the game. If anybody would have scored more than 40 that game, I would have been shocked. And we did just go through the entirety of the points totals for the Lakers. 4 people on the Lakers roster went into double-digit points. And then you switch over to the Miami Heat. 4 of their starters went into double digits, and then they had Kelly Olynyk come off the bench again and have a phenomenal game off the bench with 17 points. That's tied for the second highest scoring total on the Heat. Him and Tyler Hero both had 17 points in that game last night. So, I mean, you have 5 people compared to 4. 1 person double digits off the bench for Miami, 2 people off the bench in double digits for LA. And then you say the starting lineup again, and you have 4 out of the 5 starters for Miami going to double digits. And it's not like they're, let's see, 12 points for Jamison Crowder, or Jay Crowder, not Jamison. Jamison's a football player. 1 turnover. 13 points for Duncan Robinson, no turnovers. 17 points for Tyler Hero, 1 turnover. 17 points for Kelly Olynyk, 0 turnovers. Jimmy Butler had 5 turnovers on his 40-point performance. Then you come over to the Lakers and you say Anthony Davis had 15 points. That's awful. And 5 turnovers. Awful. LeBron James had 25 points, which is his second lowest scoring performance in these 3 games.
8 turnovers.
He had 8 turnovers, which is probably his highest turnover game in his
career. Probably.
I can't say that for a fact.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's terrible. And then the whole team had 19 turnovers combined, which obviously they have like 10 people play the whole game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people play, and you end up with almost double the amount of turnovers as players. That's bad. The Heat played almost a perfect game and needed it to win. Oh yeah,
they had to. They had to.
Down 2 of their best players.
You had to, because if they can't lose that game. They had to.
AD went MIA. Yeah, he was sitting.
He did
because he was fouled out. Well,
but
not
even
fouled out, but
even when he did play, they played him defense. They were like he wasn't hitting he didn't hit his shots as much.
Yeah.
He wasn't like AD dominant like game 1 or 2. But like honestly, like they had to play like that. Like they were going to go home. They didn't want to go home. Jimmy Butler was kind of running his mouth a little bit game 1 and 2 in the beginning of even the beginning press conference of the finals. Like, we're not scrubs. Like, let them know. But you can't go down 3-0 and be like, yeah, we're not scrubs. You know what I mean? Because you kind of like, even if you win that extra game, you're kind of like still going home. You know what I mean? So once they had to win this game, they had to play flawless basketball. They didn't really have to play flawless basketball, but they did that to be that dominant. They could have won playing less flawless basketball, but at the same time, but they figured out what they had to do to win, which is 1, stop AD or neutralize him, whether that's getting foul trouble or whatever you have to do. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. 2, that gives you control of LeBron. That means once AD's gone, you're hawking LeBron. You're playing, and when you do with LeBron, you pretty much play by like how they did in the back in the 90s with Jordan, the Jordan rule.
Yep.
Pretty much do the Jordan rule with LeBron because he ain't driving. If he ain't driving, you can let LeBron shoot. Honestly, like yeah. I'll let a game know. I'll let a game go perfectly fine. Let LeBron James is going to shoot every single basket because don't get me wrong, he's a good shooter, but he ain't gonna destroy you on just shooting baskets, bro. And what's it called?
Funny stat I was reading last night. I guess, hold on, before I spew this and it's wrong, let me pull this up. You can say what you were about to say.
But yeah, like I said, they played the Jordan rule on LeBron. Once that happens, you start to realize that people are going to have to hit shots, and they didn't really do that as much. You know what I mean? They kind of like had to rely on LeBron had to rely on other people, and they realized that there's only him and AD really. So when it came out, like there was not no third person that's gonna, hey, like I'm gonna help you out. Let me do my little thing. You had the Morris and Kuzma, but like that really wasn't enough. Clearly you needed like probably like another 20-point person, on top of LeBron.
Okay, this stat is correct. I was reading this last night after the game ended. LeBron is more likely to make the finals in his career than he is to hit a shot from the floor. And his effective field goal percentage is 54.1%, but that's combining his field goals, his 3-point field goals, and his free throws. His
So
field
that's
goal
kind of
percentage
low then,
is
right?
50%. So he hits one of every two shots on his career,
Mm-hmm.
and he still makes the finals at a whopping 59% of the time. Big fact. Poor ball
Mm-hmm.
control. They had like 10 rebounds in the first, 10 turnovers in the first quarter, which
Mm-hmm.
absurd. Now that we've covered game 3, we move on to talking about the possibilities of game 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking like Bam Adebayo will be coming back. He was upgraded to questionable today. Um, that injury must be healing pretty well. And you obviously see that the Heat can win a game without him. So, what is it looking like to the series now that he's on his way back?
My personal opinions, if they, I think the Lakers have. I don't get me wrong, but I feel like if Miami wins tomorrow, then I'm thinking Miami's going to finish this off. In my personal opinion, like don't get me wrong, the Lakers are Lakers, but if they really win tomorrow, they're going. That means they really know how to figure out the Lakers. Because if last night could have been just a game plan to figure out how LeBron works without them, but if Bam comes back and what's it called, Bam comes back, even without Goran Dragic, even with that's Bam is kind of like their center rebounder that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So if they come, I think it's going. If the Lakers win, I think it's going to be Lakers. Honestly, roll out the West way. But I feel like honestly, with if the Miami Heat to win tomorrow with Bam, well, that means that they know what they can do at the almost pretty much full power and how to attack the Lakers and control the series. They know what they had to do because don't get me wrong, but last night kind of like a thing. Having LeBron and 80 hit for 35 and 20 is possible, and doing that because that's a great game out of LeBron. But the type of game Miami had last night
Yeah.
was good, but also very achievable. I get a achievable, consistent thing to do. Like doing the game plan they had was something they can do every single game and could probably would work good amount of the time. Get 80 foul trouble. What's it called? Once 80's off the court, figuring out LeBron because don't get me wrong, there's only so much only one person can really do in a team sport.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've seen it done. I kind of agree with you. If the Heat can tie this series 2-2 after tomorrow, if they do, um, Big Tooch says Braun's pissed off. Lakers in a boat race. He
Uh,
thinks the Lakers are gonna blow him out the water, which
I like that. I like that. I'm not saying LeBron is definitely pissed. If LeBron shows if LeBron that's why I feel like maybe the last game showed that LeBron has to pull something a little has to do is put a little bit his good foot on the gas a little bit harder. You know what I mean?
I'm waiting
LeBron might
for.
have to he might have to show us something that he might have not wanted us to or something because or else holding back or something
Yeah,
like that because I'm not going to hold you but if playing through 80 if they found out that playing through 80 is probably not going to work like
yeah,
that Miami kind of had that shut down. And don't get me wrong, it worked game 1 and 2, but because Miami didn't really have a game plan how they're going to work it out, but now they do. So it's not really going to work. They're gonna attack AD. They got the depth too. They're gonna force. He's not gonna. You can't. He's not gonna muscle his way through 2 or 3 people. So
yeah. I'm
he's gonna
waiting
either
for
get in foul
LeBron.
trouble. He's either gonna get foul trouble doing that because the one thing you saw in game 3 that kind of was AD didn't play the same. He was scared out there. Once he get in that foul trouble, bro he wasn't attacking the rim like he was. He wasn't playing defense the way he was. He was playing that he wasn't out there playing the way he was because he didn't want to because he knew how much that him being gone would majorly affect the team. So
Yeah,
that for that reason and that reason only, because that getting 80 in foul trouble is a thing that, like I said, they could do every single game. So that
yeah,
type of I don't know. He played. that type of play he played AD is possible containing because once he gets in foul trouble, he's not going to attack as much. So,
I'm waiting for LeBron to pull what he used to against the Warriors whenever he played in Cleveland and dropped 51 plus points or
mhm.
BS like that. But in other news, there's been some little jersey drops. Atlanta, I know it's far and beyond from now, but
Mhm.
next season they're going to be repping a new uniform. Sometimes it's just a new alternate, so it really just depends.
Yeah.
They dropped this uniform, Martin Luther King.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's already turned into one of my favorite NBA uniforms, and I won't even lie
Mhm.
about that. It's a beautiful thing. See if I can get a better thing. Nope. Um, but yeah, so I mean, just in general, that MLK uniform is nice. Um, I know more irrelevant things in comparison to the NBA. Dame Lillard's dropped another colorway on his shoes. It was Buzz Lightyear colorway, and honestly, I didn't hate them.
Mm.
See if I can find them so I can share them.
I should have bought some Dames because I forget when it was. He did Dame Lillard did something, and his shoes were like 50% off, and like I should have bought a pair whenever because they were like $59 for like one pair because they were normally like 119.
Really?
Yeah, 119, 120, I think something
Let's
around
see.
that.
We'll save it here.
Ooh, you see that? But another thing to bring up did you hear the Tyler Hero snarl that he
Oh
made
my.
that little face that he looked? It was kind
Mm.
of weird, but like if that's his Jordan moment, then it is what it is, my man.
My man hit one layup to
He
seal the
said,
game, and oh
"I don't
man,
know, bro, but if he, I don't know, man. If
if
he comes
if they
out,
let him get hot, it's over. I've
if
said
he,
that
bro,
pregame.
that's what I'm saying. Because like, who's gonna have? Because if he's, he might be a wild card too. He might be a wild card. Because if he comes out and starts hitting shots and plays a key role and can hit threes and hits the shots when they need him to, they might. This series could be. That's why, like I said, like there's so many. I don't know. Miami, like, don't get me wrong. Lakers, LeBron, 80. I know that. Love basketball, but at the end of the day, sometimes basketball, the team sport of basketball can really show what's it called be the difference between superstars and like a champ,
Yeah.
and especially in a championship aspect. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because the same, if we're being honest, the same thing we are talking about the same thing last year.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're talking about the same thing last year. You know what I mean? When it comes to like the Warriors going down, like they had Kawhi, but if you had Kawhi, then you had everyone, a whole bunch of role players after that, pretty much.
Heroes
So
defense is a big fat zero. Still not as bad as James Harden's defense, but
thank you,
I
bro.
digress.
Thank you, bro. I am another person that calls out that man's defense, bro. God awful, bro. I've been trying to tell people that he does not play defense. Him and Russell play. Okay, Russell plays closer, but his is like still not really defense. And I will admit it because, bro, he's a one-way player, bro, and he's literally a one-way street, bro.
Yep.
And that's why he'll
And
never win a finals,
here are the
in my
shoes that I
opinion.
was talking about just to show them because I like them.
Those are hard.
They're clean. I didn't. Whenever I
So
first saw them, I didn't see the Andy on the bottom, but that's cool. It's a
it
good little
kind of
touch.
asks. That kind of like makes it original. So that kind of is kind of cool.
Trying to see what they go for because I might cop a pair. But yeah, before we do go, I would still like to say,
Mm-hmm.
actually, hold on, let me get rid of this so we can do something real quick. Uh, nope, that's not what I want to show. Don't care about that. These our hoodies, our shirts, Loudmouth Sports Talk apparel, bombshellbowling.com/Loudmouth Sports Talk. This should they're not pre-order anymore. They are open for sale and shipping. Our hoodies are $40. Our t-shirts are 22, I guess. I thought they were 20, but they're $22. It says. These are exactly what they look like. We've got men, women. We go from sizes small to 5X, I think is the highest size we go. Um,
I think there's a. Do we still got a tank top, or do I got rid of that?
no, that was just like a little seasonal thing, I think. Um,
Like
yeah, so buy the shirts, buy the hoodies. It'll help us out really, 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 really well. Um, Miss Michelle, the owner and founder of Bombshell Bowling, has been wonderful. She's done nothing but support us.
mhm,
Um, and then to mention support, I also want to shout out everybody else before we get off. Our schedule is right here. This is no longer Dame Calls Game. Our show is Off the Bounce, me and Isaiah.
mhm,
Every Monday, 8:30, unless something happens and we can't make it, we'll try and either delay it that night or we will postpone it for a different day. We need t-shirts for each program. Eventually, we will get there. We will get here.
mhm.
Um, so then we move on to Tuesdays. We don't really do the round table that much since everybody's individual sport is going on. But every Sunday, however, we do a show at 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. where we talk about the NFL pick'ems. So if you want to see majority of our faces, at least, it's normally me. Isaiah's been there now. Sean, Courtney, and George. We do our little Monday or Sunday morning shows before all the NFL games. So that roundtable kind of switched over to Sunday morning. Wednesday night, we still have Into the Trenches. That is our football show. George
Or,
and
or,
Courtney. Um,
NFL and college football needs.
they do talk about all of football, NCAA and NFL.
Mhm.
Then you move into Thursday. That is Robbie Phillips ahead of the curve with our baseball show. Um, the semifinals of baseball are going on right now. National League Division Series and the American League Division Series, I think. Um, then you move into Fridays. Rob Abrahamovich, I want to say his name is. I don't want to mess it up, and I probably butchered his last name. Um,
Grinded.
we have Mucking and
All the
Grinding.
NHL needs this offseason. You know,
NHL.
this NHL draft is coming faster than most other sports drafts. I think.
Yeah, it is. Um, Sadly, and I really do hate to say this, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they won the freaking Stanley Cup.
Hmm.
Woo.
Are you,
Congratulations to
what
them, though.
are you a Panthers fan?
No, I'm a Penguins fan.
Oh, okay.
Then you move into Saturday nights, 6 p.m. It says they kind of run it as close to that as possible.
Off the top rope,
Off
WWE
the top
champions.
rope.
All your WWE wrestling needs at your fingertips. Sean,
Sean and Luciano. Um, like Isaiah's saying, they do all their WWE stuff. Anything you want to talk about wrestling,
mhm.
head on over there. Off the top rope Saturdays. But yeah, so this has been another week. It is a different show, so this was episode 1.
End of the first episode 1 of Off the Bounce.
Just want to go ahead and say thank you guys for your support. All like 3 of you that tuned in the past 45 minutes. I know we are interrupting Monday Night Football, but thank you for the support regardless to those of you that are not protesting football. And as Mr. Santucci says, Courtney is in third place in those pick'ems coming into last week. I don't know where he's at sitting now after these week's games, but we will see. But yeah, so see you guys next week. Thank you very much for your
Thank
support.
you everyone for watching. Thank you,
Isaiah, thank you for being on as usual.
Dame, of course.
Yes, sir. So, everyone, have a good night. Enjoy your football, and we'll talk to you next week.